Is this the last chance for Israel Adesanya, and could it all be over? Before I get into that though, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as I have brand new videos every single week. Fight week is here and UFC 305 is this Saturday, and I'm going to make my predictions for the main card. So let's take a look and see what we've got. Right, in the main event, Dricus Du Plessis is defending the middleweight title against former champion Israel Adesanya. Now, of course, Izzy doesn't deserve this title shot one bit. He's coming off a loss, but I think this is more of a case of right time, right place, because 305 is in Australia and they need a big name who can main event. And sure, Izzy's from New Zealand, but it's got that connection still, doesn't it? That sort of Australasia area, so he can main event that, and he's a big enough name. I think though, if Volk hadn't have lost to Ilya back at UFC 298, Izzy would not be main eventing this card and he wouldn't be getting a title shot, and we'd have had Alex main eventing instead. I'm not sure who we'd have fought, but I think that's likely what was going to happen. So now the UFC had to rely on someone else. So right, okay, do we give a title shot, a rematch to Strickland coming off a loss? Nah, let's give the shot to Izzy. Even though I don't agree with it, I think that's their logic behind it. But let's talk about predictions. Du Plessis is a very, very dangerous fighter, and he's only got one gear, and that is forward. He literally just keeps coming and coming and coming. But I think that's going to be Du Plessis' downfall in this fight. Moving forward with big looping punches leaves you open to big counter strikes, and I think a long, rangy counter puncher like Izzy will take advantage of that and will rack up the points quite easily. And I even think that Izzy might get a KO later into the fight, maybe round 4 or round 5, when Du Plessis is really tired and he just keeps getting peppered up over and over and over again. But that's not to take away from Du Plessis, because Du Plessis is incredibly dangerous and he has some incredible KO power. So if he catches Izzy, it could all be over. Now in the co-main event, we have KaraFrance versus Stephen Erceg, a fight that I'm actually really looking forward to. This is the kind of fight that the division needs. Two top guys going at it. And if Kai gets this win here, I think he'll likely get a title shot. But with flyweight, it just feels like if you hang around long enough, you'll get a title shot anyway. So it doesn't really matter. And it's a shame that the flyweight division's sort of going in this direction. It feels as though the UFC are going to plan on scrapping it soon, within the next 12 months or so. So it's a bit of a shame, but we'll see how that plays out. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's talk about the actual fight instead of me just rambling on about a dead division. Kai is obviously a fantastic striker, and he showed great improvement to his takedown defense against Askarov, but Erceg is fantastic at mixing it up in the striking and the grappling, and I think it might just be a bit too much for Kai. But my main concern with Erceg is, yes, he looked fantastic in his fight with Pantoja, but he showed a lot of flaws and he made a lot of crucial mistakes, and I think that's his lack of experience on that big stage in front of a big audience under high pressure within the UFC. And if he continues to make mistakes like that, I think Kai will take advantage of it, because don't forget, Kai has almost double the experience Erceg has, and he has more than double the fights in the UFC at this high level, with a high stage, with a lot of eyes on you. And I think that sort of ability for Kai to sort of keep calm within the fight that's going to get him the decision win here. And I think, unfortunately, poor Erceg is going to get another loss within the UFC. And then next we have the returning Dan Hooker facing off against Mateusz Gamr. This is a big opportunity for Dan, because if Dan gets the win here, that really puts him back at the top of the pile for lightweight. But even though I'm a big fan of Dan, I don't think it's going to go his way. Dan just isn't consistent enough. It's a real shame, as I think he's incredibly talented, but I just don't think he can turn it on when he needs to. And Gamr is such a high level guy with fantastic grappling, and he can really, really mix it up. I don't think he's going to get the submission over Dan, but I think he's going to grind him through for that decision, just through takedowns alone. I think that's all he really needs to do. But this is one of these fights that I'm really hoping I'm wrong. And now we have the big boys Tuivasa versus Rosen strike. I will say though, Tai really needs the win here. He's on what, 4 back-to-back losses, all finishes, and it's more than just a fight on the line here. I think this is Tai's career on the line, because if he loses, it could all be over for him. I think the UFC might not keep him on. They might release him, and it's a shame if that happens, because I love watching Tai fight. And he's a big name though, and the heavyweight division always needs some exciting fighters, and just because he's losing doesn't mean that people are interested in seeing him, but he needs to pull it back. And I actually think that's going to be the problem in this fight. I think that pressure of 4 back-to-back losses, that need to get back in the win column, is going to get to Tai, and Tai's going to make a lot of mistakes in this fight. I think he's going to be putting himself more at risk, and when you put yourself at risk, you get caught more often, and you can't get caught by Rosenstrike, because if you do, it's all over, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think Rosenstrike is unfortunately going to flatline Tai. But with the heavyweight division, you just never know. It's always 50-50, and you know, Tai could catch him within the first 10 seconds and just absolutely clobber him. And then we have Jingliang making his return against Carlos Pratas. For those unaware though, Lee's been off with an incredibly bad back injury, and many people, including Lee himself, thought this might be it for his career, that it'd all be over. So it's fantastic to see him back, but I don't like his chances against Pratas. Pratas is a young, hungry prospect coming off, I think, a 9-fight win streak, and he's a phenomenal striker. And Lee's got some great KO power though, so if you can catch him, it could all be over. But Pratas is just too fast, he's too strong, too quick, and I think he's going to pepper Lee up to get a decision over 3 rounds. And that's my predictions for UFC 305. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment and subscribe, it really does help us out.